Here's a future truth for you. Somewhere in Wall Street, somewhere in the City of London, somewhere in Paris, someone is building a chariot of scams. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, I am the last man standing. And it's my very great pleasure to offer a few concluding remarks for this extraordinary event. First, thank you for making this the event that it is. Over and over during the last few days, people have spoken to me about the atmosphere at the Skoll World Forum. They've spoken of collegiality, of engagement, of purpose, and of warmth. It's you who create that, and we're very grateful. Second, I don't think it's a coincidence that this, the most remarkable of any event I know, happens here in Oxford. It's not just that our deliberations take on the flavor of the soaring arches and the ancient stones. Sorry, Tim, it's old stuff again. It's that the entire fabric of this place is given over to thinking hard about hard questions. The questions you've been worrying about this week are the hardest questions of all. As Paul Hawken put it, you are asking how to reimagine what a human being is. Less grandly, but no less importantly, you're allowing us to reimagine what it is to think and act in the face of injustice and disasters, both natural and not. When our curator, the wonderful Paula Kravitz, asked me if I'd be happy to close your forum this year and offer a few words of synthesis and summary, of course, I agreed. I assumed that diligent note-taking, adequately grey hair, and lots of assiduous conversations in corridors and over coffee this week would give me some strands to define and some themes to highlight. I reckoned without one of the lesser-known Skoll effects, and that's the law that states that the more inspiring the forum is, the less easy it is to summarize. The bad news, therefore, is that there's no simple narrative of the week that I can serve up to you in conclusion tonight. The good news, of course, is that there's no simple narrative of the week. And nor should there be in a week that's ranged both widely and deeply across the idea of collaboration. So I thought that what I'd do is to list a few of the things that I've learned this week. I've learned that there are two birds and two cakes. I've learned that intractable problems, even big, scary, recalcitrant, painful ones, are not intractable when subject to the power of truth, reconciliation, and innovation. I've learned that sometimes it pays not to understand what your interpreter is saying you said. I've learned that often when it appears that no one knows, we know. I've learned that language matters, that stories matter, that entitlement matters. And they matter because so much of what is wrong results from a failure of empathy. Stories are empathy agents. I've learned that imposed solutions don't work, but that local ones can. A dried up pond is of no use. I've learnt that of the many resources unequally distributed, one of the most important is entitlement. The notion that there are rights to demand and to defend is very important. I've learned that the immune response prompted by the pathologies of power look quite a lot like you, and that nothing you do is inconsequential. And I've learned that it takes depths of courage to force us to look into the abyss, as Paul Farmer did here 2 nights ago, and more still, to show us some ways out of the abyss. We have no choice but to adopt his preferred definition of catalysis. And finally, and this gets dangerously close to synthesis, I've learnt that one of the most famous distinctions in Western philosophy may well have been overturned by you all this week. In 1739, David Hume made the distinction between is and ought, between, very roughly speaking, and it is very roughly speaking, accurate descriptions of the world and consequent inaccurate aspirations about the world. It occurred to me, listening to you all this week, to the awardees, to the panelists, to contributors, to various of you over coffees and drinks, that here at the Skoll World Forum, ought is resolving to is. I thank you for your contributions this week and for continuing to build this creative and necessary event. If nothing is inconsequential, then you can be sure that some things are more consequential than others. This gathering is one of those things. For those of you who can get home, I wish you safe travel. To all of you, I wish you an engaged, productive, collaborative year and look forward to welcoming you back to this city of your dreams next year. Meanwhile, may your ought be is. Thank you.